I got a great one from the Wars back in the day. So same story. We had this big prop called Chrissy Terrible. Same thing. Used to go way too hard at post session, kicking off by runs. If I guess he comes out the line, big Rubes.
Yeah, big Rubes.
He goes, fuck this. Bro, snapped him in half and just like, I'm just standing there. It's like one of my first trains. Like, oh yeah.
All right, what's up? Welcome back into the YKTR Sports Show. It is round one, baby, so we are excited. We got the boss in the building, Isaac John. What's up? And Skipper Scope, as always. How are we, boys? Good?
Good, thank you. Grateful.
Very good.
We're
very excited for this for the show here today. Obviously, it is round one, so we've got a shitload to get through. But start on a little bit of a somber note, and Scope, I will throw to you in a second. But obviously, the tragic passing of Shane Warne, Australian sporting icon, legend of Australia. I sort of likened it to when Kobe passed, but this was obviously a lot closer to home. Just your thoughts on the sad passing of Shane Warne, Skip?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely got that feeling. I think a lot of people have echoed that over the weekend and whatnot. It's a real nostalgic feeling. You boys didn't grow up over here in the 90s. When did you move over, Ice? So
2013.
2013. Yeah, so during that golden period of cricket, I grew up. It was footy during the year, during winter, and then as soon as summer come around, I was in the backyard or taping up a ball and playing cricket in the summer, and that was the golden period of cricket for us for Australia anyway. There was some handy players that played for New Zealand that I'd follow, but mate, the summers with Warne, Glenn McGrath, Gilly, Ricky Ponting, like that was my year where I grew up, where I was really enjoying my sport from 9 years old to 18, where we used to play a lot of backyard cricket. And it was a sad passing, and like you said, and like we said off the top, it does feel like Warne because it's gone too soon, and it was like caught us off guard. And then both larger or had just as big of an impact as they did
transcended their sport
playing as they were having off. He had some very controversial comments when it come to commentating, but you actually enjoyed it because one, he had lived and breathed it. Like even though he had a controversial comment every now and again, he'd be actually been out there and done it. So it meant a bit
matters,
more,
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does matter. It does matter for guys like that when they have their say. But always entertaining and very very sad.
Yeah, before I throw to you, Ice, there is a reason why he has the biggest photo on this wall behind us here. He was a cultural icon beyond sport, and that's the sort of people that we all fuck with. I know we're not the only ones who are Shane Warne fans, but like you said, I am a New Zealand supporter, so there was always a bit of a friendly hatred towards Warne. But
Dan Vittori, baby. Dan Vittori was my guy, so
I
always used to say growing up, like, I wish Dan Vittori got to play in those Grouse Australian teams as well, just like Warne. Was never on Warne's level, obviously, but... being a proud Kiwi, I enjoyed the back and forth, but also I just love that Australian team. I think just because they were so dominant, and it was just they were always
cocky with it too, eh?
Yeah, they took some of the bet like the sledging that those teams had because they were fucking so dominant.
For him to be the best player in a team that good speaks volumes. Obviously, we know he's a cricketing legend, but that was just my piece off the cricket pitches where he did some of his best work, and that's why we love him. But Ice, your thoughts on Warne's passing? Yeah,
obviously not a big cricket guy, but I understood his impact as well. But like New Zealand, we kind of like our heroes or sporting heroes, nice and clean cut. Your Dan Carters, your Richie McCaw. And one of the great things about Australian, they love their cult figures a little bit rough around the edges. And the reason why YKTR Sports was built, and like you said, Shane Warne's on the wall, we like those types of guys that aren't afraid to be themselves, but they can actually do some damage on the field as well. So we look at like Johns, Munster, Dusty Martin leaving his car, ducking off to like Vegas for
Keary now,
Yeah, those types of guys are the ones that I've always sort of resonated with, and there's probably none bigger than Shane Warne in my opinion as well. So loved I've just gone into a bit of a sort of rabbit hole over the weekend. The algorithm just picked him up, and I was just watching all his interviews. I didn't realise he was an AFL guy and got brushed from St Kilda at 18 years.
I didn't realise that either.
18 years old, bro. Then when he was a kid, he looked up to a guy in his local cricket side, and he was a gun spinner. So he just used to copy him, and he used to do these things where he'd lay a handkerchief out, and he wouldn't leave his backyard until he'd hit that handkerchief on the spot, or hit it 3 times. So had the work ethic as well. But yeah, just loved everything about him. Just the correlation. And the reason why, like, I think I gravitate towards those guys, and why they're so iconic over here. Because you look at them, they're just like us. But then they jump on the field, they're like,
Killers.
I could never do that.
Yeah.
So there's that beautiful contrast of like, yo, he's like me, but he's fucking nothing like me as well. And they say good people die, but legends live forever. And he's that guy.
No one's ever going to touch his Test cricket records. No one's ever going to come close to sort of the moments he had in those. I mean, his first ever Ashes in England, boom, knocks him over. But I saw something today. It's like if you ever need to simplify Warnie's legacy, he's the reason why we all you can't pick up an apple or an orange or a lemon without getting your fingers around the seam.
It's almost like the Kobe. Like
when
you
is
have
Kobe.
a shot,
You
Kobe.
go throw paper in the rubbish bin, you lean back. So that's just our little 2 cents on Shane Warne. Obviously, the passing's a few days old now, but it did affect us here for this very reason why he's behind us here. So RIP Shane Warne, absolute legend. All right, let's get into the footy because it's what we do best, Skip. It's the NRL week 1. We managed to get through the preseason as all good ex-players do. We all hate the preseason, all of us ex-players, 3 of us, but we made it to round 1. Team list came out. We are going to break down every game, but just some quick fire topics, reactions off the back. I'll throw to you boys here we'll get through the headlines quickly and then we'll break down each game. But Scope, straight off, O'Sullivan, my boy, in. Cleary out for 3 weeks is a big talking point. What does that mean for Penrith?
Said a couple of weeks ago. I'm interested to see what happens. Manly have obviously come in with regards to betting. We'll do a betting show tomorrow, so I'm sure we'll touch on that at some point. But it's a good opportunity for the Bird Gang to get off to a good start. Top 4 team. But yeah, just with regards to Penrith in particular, we'll see. We shall see for the first couple of weeks because, like I said on the show last week, I think their system is obviously very Nathan Cleary dependent because he is one of the best players in the competition, and I think we'll see that in their performances in the next couple of weeks.
I think Nathan Cleary has lost 3 games of rugby league in the last 2 years or something like that.
Really?
They've surprisingly got a pretty good record with him. I think Roasty or someone put it up the other day. They've only lost 3 games out of 10.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting stat on Instagram. I don't know if it's true or not, but only Fozzie and DCE and Mitch Moses and Brown are the only 2 halves starting this week that have played together.
Oh, interesting. As a combination.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, that's some of the question marks that I got with some of these teams as we'll get through them as well.
I think Sean and Cody would have played a game together. I don't know. Anyway, carry on. Your thoughts on Nathan out for 3 weeks?
Yeah, obviously it hurts him. I think we looked at Manly last year. They went 0-3 to start the season. I think Penrith's better than that. But he's got that type of effect where he makes everyone around him better. And he is that important to that team now. And I'm looking at their team list now. I'm like going, oh, they got some nice pieces. But it's kind of like the Melbourne side as well. When Munster's out and Harry Grant's out, you're like, yo, these guys are beatable. Yeah. So it's interesting. Hopefully Nathan gets well over the next 3 weeks, but he's got a lot of football to play for the rest of his career. I don't think he's looking back on 2022 going, fuck, I wish I played round 1.
I say no big deal. I think they still make the top 4 regardless of missing 3 weeks.
But do they win this game? Do they win this game?
Don't get that confused with the top 4.
Yeah, we will get to the game. We'll break it down more, but that's just quickly on Cleary. And FINUCANE to captain the Sharks. Scope, your reaction to that?
Yeah, a logical choice. He's going to lead from the front. Going to fucking, like I said, his best work's done Monday to Friday.
After the game too, on the GAT, sing a few songs for the boys.
Yeah, fucking might get the team song going. Fucking
husky voice.
Yeah. What type of drop do you reckon FINUCANE would be smashing?
VB.
He could be a VB guy like myself, I think.
I'd say a bit of a red wine connoisseur with that voice.
Yeah, I think he's a red wine.
And he'd probably wait to the off season till he had one.
Yeah.
He's probably one of those guys that's fucking full on all the way through. But
one of those blokes that actually cares about football.
Yeah. There's a few of them. There's a few of them out there. They're not in here.
I see your reaction to FINUCANE skippering the Sharks.
Yeah, logical choice. Obviously, Wado's out as well. So where they share that role, who knows? But 2 really good captains there. Like you listen to Wade Graham talk about football, it sounds like he's 50 years old. Just the way he can articulate himself. And but then you got that other side of there with FINUCANE as well. Been there, done that, been around the best captain to ever captain this game in multiple areas. So yeah, he's going to know the right things to say at the right time, and that's really important.
Moving on to Brisbane Scope, Walters and Kelly have been named in the halves, obviously with no Reynolds. We will get more into that when we break down that game, but your reaction to Walters getting the nod, well, Walters and Kelly getting the nod to partner the halves for Brisbane?
Yeah, so, as like we said a little bit early on too, we heard Albert Kelly was thereabouts to be the 6 regardless. I think Billy Walters played his way into the jersey. With Tyson Gamble, he's obviously the one that misses out, as there was a bit of chat about Ezra Mann, but I think on form and going into to start a new year with the experienced Albert Kelly, I think it's a good combination. And it could do the Broncos a lot of good. Obviously, they want Ren there. Ren will come back next week, and then this will be a bit of a showdown to see who's going to pair him, I'd imagine.
I would have loved to have seen Ezra Mam get a crack, but I suppose round one is maybe not the best environment, Ice. But your reaction to those boys getting the nod?
Yeah, I think it's the right choice as well. Like Walters sort of played his way into it. And I know everyone's skeptical about it because like nepotism, because his dad's the coach and stuff. But when you're watching his trial form, he actually looked like the better half for a lot of them as well. So Kelly's played a lot of football. I think you just want to get experience in there as well. So I'll touch on Broncos a little bit later, but I think it is the right choice. Yeah,
and we will also touch on your team, the Mighty Roosters, a little bit later. But we got to go right off the jump. Keary is in. Your boy is in. Playing Newey. I'll start with you, seeing as though it is your team. Keary was the big cloud. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? He's in. Your reaction?
Yeah, I seen Kempy put up. This first time Radley and him have played together for a long time. So I'll break down the Roosters a little bit later, but I'm excited. I'm putting some money on too, so tune into the betting show.
Yeah, some money. Scope. Yeah. Your reaction to Keary getting named?
I'm excited for him. There's the big question marks with those two guys in particular is whether they're going to be able to play the full season. Sammy Walker and Kez, but they're starting the season. One was a little bit banged up at the end of last year, and obviously Kez, there's no denying that he's had his concussion issues in the past. So it's great to just see them two out of the blocks round one to see what they're capable of.
Scopes, gun to your head. Where do they sit as halves pairing best in the comp right now? Nathan Cleary, Jerome, 1.
Yep.
DCE, Fozzie. Are they better than DCE and Fozzie?
Hughesy and Munster, 2.
Hughesy, Munster, 2.
I might even have Jerome and Munster, 1 for me. And then, so a mixture.
Better than the New South Wales origin?
Yep.
Oof. I'm with Scope.
Kiwi half, Queensland 5'8", not the worst. But that'll be debatable depending on like what your flavour is, obviously.
Watch the comments go off here.
Yeah. It's not an outrageous take, too, by the way. It's not a jacko. Let's just clarify that. It's not
Footy
a jacko.
fans don't care, They just go bang.
Yeah, they start hammering. Thereabouts. Mitchy Moses and Dylan Brown would be thereabouts. And then just because it's...
Are they out of sight, out of mind? Is that kind of what...
It'll be a blessing in disguise anyway, I reckon. Like, I'm excited to just watch them play. And because we haven't seen it... did they play a couple together at the start of the year last year? No, they didn't.
No.
Hutchinson
Walker
was 6.
He got himself a bench spot too, Mudders.
Yeah, Mudders is always thereabouts.
Yeah. Speaking of excitement machines, your boy Tyrell Sloan skip. He wins the gig. There was plenty of, is it going to be him? Is it going to be Ramsey? I think that last trial sort of cemented everything. A, Sloan killing it again, but B, Ramsey killing it on the wing. So your reaction to your boy getting the number 1 jumper?
Yeah, it's good for both. Good for the Dragons. Good competition. I think it's going to bring out the best of them. I like the Dragon start, man. They've got a nice little run on them. So we'll get to that as the betting show comes tomorrow. And
Jeez, we're plugging this betting show, aren't we?
Yeah, tune into the betting show. We can talk, Isaac's having a lick on the Roosters. Well, it might be a little bit of jam on the Dragons.
Yuck. I'm starting to get a little Isaac Johnny Raiders vibe with the Dragons in here. Starting to swing around on the Mighty Dragons. As soon as Normie leaves too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Big plus.
Tyrell Sloan getting the 1.
I just had to be there for me. And Scope sort of talked about manufacturing competition within, which is always important. But he's the guy for me. You can build 5-10 years around him as well. So I know a lot of people always say 10 years, but you can have a crack with him, and you won't probably see the best out of him straight away. But I think he can develop into a really good footballer. Really, really good footballer.
Speaking of really good footballers, I'm happy for Nick Meaney to get in the crack. Obviously, circumstances mean he's gonna start in the halves, but him and Pappy are back in for the Storm. Scope, you interested to see Nick Meaney get out there and run around the Storm jumper? Yeah,
it looks to be the Nico Hines for this year. He'll play the 14 role, starting this week for the Prez when the Prez comes back.
Is he back next week?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. So Prez will go back straight into that starting spot, missing the game for last year's antics, and then excited for Meaney. He'll be one of those guys. We talked about it early that he'll just be one of those guys that everyone will be going, fuck, Nick Meaney's way better than what I thought. Especially if you didn't watch closely at the Bulldogs and see what he was capable of in a bad team.
Yeah, no, he was. I do like Nick Meaney. Ice, your reaction to Meaney getting the nod in the halves, and obviously Pappy back. We had a conversation off here earlier in the week about whether he would or would not play, but Pappy in as well.
Yeah, that's important. And obviously he's got the strike, but then I like Nick Meaney as well. I was hot on him very early. Very much similar thought pattern in his scope as well. But I like him in the 6 as well. I think Melbourne's system, like they say this a lot, the system, he won't have to try and overcomplicate things. He'll have everyone doing their job. So all he needs to do is focus on him. But he's got some strike, bro. He's quick, he's strong. He's deceptive. So I haven't seen him pass the ball too much. I know he's played at fullback a little bit. So I wonder if he can strip down that little left edge as well. He won't be able to do as well as Munster, but just enough to get Pappy a look, Olem a look, and then Coates over in the corner. Like that'll be the important. It's a decent edge.
They all develop it down there, especially when you got the fucking best ever do it, Billy Slater coaching them.
Yeah.
With regards to playing out the back, and Nick Meaney, he'll develop that in his game as the year goes on in the next couple of years for sure.
I need to play that speech in here in the office.
You've
got all the resources there.
Mate,
But if you don't want it, you don't want it.
If you haven't seen it already, that's what got me to pull the Melbourne Storm back into the top 4. Like Billy Slater with his Geelong, is it Geelong camp? Was it Geelong camp? Yeah, unreal.
Yeah. And we touched on it last week as well, but it has been official. Tommy Dearden and Chad Townsend, they get the nod in the halves for the Cowboys, which means Drinky doesn't start their scope. Your reaction to that?
So you had a nice little stat, Jack, and I want you to say this because
it's your first decent one of the year.
Well, it's not a take, it's a stat.
You got some stats. You're saying that Drinky missed the most tackles.
So we touched on last week. We all obviously know that Scott Drinkwater can play. Like we're high on him, and we were sort of wondering, are we missing something here? Yeah. But he did have the most missed tackles last year, I believe. The stats that I saw in the NRL. So that obviously, but the counter argument to that, like we said, is James Maloney basically led that stat every bloody year, and he was all right. So I don't know how much you read into that, but obviously Todd Payten does in some respect, because if there's one thing about, we knew Chad Townsend was going to get the role because he got the big pay packet, that was assumed. Tommy Dearden and Drinkwater was going to be the competition, and the one thing you can't fault about Dearden is his effort, particularly on D. He has a red hot crack.
He's a man, bro.
He shoots out of the line. He has an absolute crack. So I don't know whether that's come into his thinking. I'm sure it certainly hasn't helped Scott Drinkwater's case, but your reaction to Tommy Dearden and Townsend getting the nod. Yeah,
so with regards to the Drinky thing, that's one thing that I just never really noticed when I was watching him play. Like normally I could, maybe because we don't watch as many Cowboys games because they just haven't been relevant as much the last couple of years, and you saw sort of like when you're looking at Cowboy stuff, it was more highlights because obviously, those games didn't interest me. But it's interesting. Like, see what happens with Drinkwater as the year goes on. I know he just re-signed, but I think he's good enough to play 6 in a lot of teams. Better than the Cowboys. So
so he missed the most tackles, and then it was all fours. It was Toby Rudolph, Satili Tupanua, Liam Martin, Blake Brayley, and then obviously Luke Brooks was the next half there. So
what happens, like you said? So generally, when you get a half, especially if he's pretty dynamic and can affect the game like Drinky as well, you tend to target those players. And the thing is, right, and he's got to fix it up. Like, you just can't, it can't stay like that. Jimmy Maloney got away. He's the exception to the rule. I think he had it so many years, but
he's in stacked sides,
Jimmy,
the old bicep fucking.
He's also got that personality, Jimmy, too. Like, that people would probably say that to him at training and he'd just be fucking rat's ass. Like,
he used to do that, bro. Yeah. So like Dylan Apple was saying, like they used to do contact sessions, and obviously you go into and all the Roosters boys, like they kind of buy into those types of sessions, and he'd just sit there and like do the double arm tap and back air,
body in front, and he's just like
just tap there. So,
but he needs to work on it. Obviously, like you don't want to be stay there in back-to-back years, because I'd imagine. Playing consistent footy like Drinky has this year and maybe the year before, like he's trying to establish himself as a proper NRL 6. He needs to improve on that, but I still got a high opinion of him.
And Maloney could jag you 3 tries as well, like get you 3 tries. So
I think
if there's a little counterbalance there somewhere, and obviously the Cowboys weren't winning too many football games last year as well, so I think it highlights it a little bit more than what it needs to be. But it might just be a kick up the arse from him as well.
Yep.
If not, man, you can always go to Redcliffe.
Yeah, that's the thing. Steph Curry can, he's not the greatest defender in the world, but when you're pouring in 40 or 50, it's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
great comparison.
Yeah. And lastly, this was sort of one of the big talking points we will get to when we talk para, but Ryan Matterson to replace Nathan Brown at lock. We'll start with you, Isaac, seeing as though you've reacted like that. Thoughts?
I was kind of off it, but now I look at the Parramatta pack as a whole. Like, who's the leader there? Who would you pick? Junior Paulo?
Yep.
For me, he's the leader. RCG's come back into a red-hot form where he's the aggressor. Maybe there's just not that spot there where, like, maybe a year and a half ago or even last year, you looked at Nathan Brown. Like, as a half, I always look at packs. I'm like, who's the dude I'm scared of?
Yeah.
Obviously didn't play that tough football back in the day. But for me, it was always sort of Nathan Brown. He'll come out, put the shot on. His carries are always mad. When you get a dropout and he's bringing it back, he brings the energy. So obviously trust Brad Arthur's judgment in there, but I think deserves a spot. I don't know how well he's trained as well. But off the bat, I was like, fuck, you need Nathan Brown in there. But now I look at the pack as a whole, I'm like, oh, they're nice. Like they're a good side.
And Ryan Matterson, obviously, when we think about the modern 13, he's extremely skillful. Like he can do.
I wouldn't get too worried about the 13 number. I think Ryan Matterson still might play right edge. I think Papali'i will go into the middle.
Yeah.
When we were at Manly, Chock used to wear 11 and play lock, and Glenn Stewart would play on the edge, wearing 13. So don't look too much into the numbers. I think that's the way it'll play out.
I think the interesting thing for me, which we will get to, is Jakey Arthur getting the 17 spot. If you're going to have Nathan Brown, I would have assumed if he's not going to start, then he's still on the bench. But
is Nathan Brown out?
18th man.
Not even playing.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
No, they've got Makatoa,
I
Oregon.
thought he was
Kafusi.
injured or something.
No, they've got Makatoa, Kafusi, Ray Stone, and Jakey Arthur on the bench. So, yeah.
Oh well, that's
we'll
big.
get to
I
it.
Sort of missed that. No wonder your reaction. I was like, Madison playing. Not that big of a deal. My bad. I've got to be prepared for that. I just didn't. Like, he's one of those names when you don't see him. Like I just immediately thought, he must be injured.
Yeah.
But then I didn't look. I don't really fucking care who's playing 18 to 23 really.
Yeah.
So fuck. My bad, boys. Should
Bit
have been prepared for that one.
But out of favour could be Redcliffe. No. All right, let's go game by game. We're going to get the boys' biggest pros, biggest concerns for each team, and we'll get a rough score prediction out of them as well. So let's start with you, Scope. The Burr Gang taking on the defending champs to open the season. Got no Nathan Cleary, but it's still some decent players out there. So we'll start with the Panthers for you, Scope. Biggest pro going into the game or biggest plus for them?
Yeah, I think conditions and playing early on out west, it suits their style of footy. You know, they've been down in the trenches and won these games out at Penrith. And for people that don't know, I'll mention this a couple of times with a few stadiums, which is a bit odd. Like not many people talk about that, but playing at Panthers Stadium, Ice, you've played out there, Chico. It's a little bit different than other fields too. And then with this rain, it'll suit like just sort of going up the guts and suit their style of footy. Cleary's obviously a big out though.
Huge. Here's a small one, even like on the Thursday night game, sitting in traffic from Manly all the way out to Penrith.
Yep.
Like it just puts an extra bit of time on. So you're going to have to leave like a little bit earlier, potentially sit in a hotel. So it drags out that game a little bit longer. So that's one of the things that Scope's talking about of sort of home ground advantage.
We'll go back and forth. So straight to you for the biggest plus for the Panthers. Obviously no Nath is a concern, but biggest plus for them.
Defending champs. You're going home. You're playing in front of your home crowd. It's the first game of the round. Everyone's looking at you. Everyone knows you guys are the team. And I know Nathan Cleary's out, but you're still the defending champs, and you want to rock up and put a good performance in. And they did it in the trials, and they'll be sitting on that. But that's their biggest thing for me.
I'm just going to quickly slide in Isaac Tango, named in the centre spot.
The guy.
We've been very excited about him. So for me, that's their biggest plus, just because I love seeing a young kid get a red hot crack in round one. Scope, what about biggest concerns for Penrith?
It's pretty obvious. So Nath is out. A lot of it runs through them. You talked about looking at their lineup. I looked at their lineup and I compared to the last 2 years where, you know, not only Nath, but Capewell's gone, Burton, he's not in the centres there. He pushed Stephen Crichton to the wing. You know, just there, even though you get some nice younger players, Charlie Staines been there and done that over the last couple of years, but just not as strong as it's looked before, not only with Nath, but a few other guys.
And it's not always about playing talent as well. Like they're exactly the same talented person as they were, but like when you got a Nathan Cleary, like he gets you the ball, and he gets you looks.
He just makes everyone else look better on paper.
Like Chris Paul, that's a great part. Like Chris Paul, he makes other players look better, and Nathan Cleary's that. So you might have a gun center and Crichton, but if he touches the ball twice and one's a shitty pass and he gets one good look, like you only have to make one decent tackle and you've shut down Crichton as well. So. Yeah, I just think Nathan just really gels that team together. But I'm excited to see how Sullivan goes. Like I know people aren't as hot on him, but like I said before, he's always organised.
when I was speaking to Chico, I think we were talking about this the other day in the office. When you have a guy like Nath that's out too, and you're like a back row or a centre, you're like you know Nath's going to run the edge. But when a guy like Nath comes in and O'Sullivan, all due respect to O'Sullivan, the back row starts to go. Give me a little bit earlier. You know, you start having those sorts of conversations. Get us some ball. You might think, hey, Fozzie's out this week. I might have a little Jack Littlejohn. Just give me a little 2-pass freshie. Maybe I'm going to come up with a little bit of something. So just making sure those other players don't try to overcomplicate it on their side as well when Nate's not out, because when he's there, he tells that fucking edge exactly what they've got to do. So here's
a big question, Scope. 50-metre race, who'd win O'Sullivan or Fozzie?
Geez, I might be a chance on that one.
Yeah, Jacko, you might get a vote.
I might Pip O'Sully in that one. The one thing about O'Sullivan, obviously I am biased because he was at the Wars, and I think he actually had a decent record with my boys, but he
did, bro.
He gets himself into very good positions, and the boys, from everything you hear, the boys love him. Reece Walsh loves him.
Yeah.
Sirenen loves him. The boys all love him.
He's
and
a
you
team
see
guy.
out of
He's a team
Penrith,
guy.
the boys all love him. So best of luck, O'Sully. Hope you get it done, man.
I think the Bird Gang are going to love him too.
Yeah, Ola Kawatu might have something to say. But let's start with your Bird Gang then, Scope. Biggest plus, biggest pro. What are you looking for from the Bird Gang?
Yeah, just a great opportunity for Manly to knock off a top 4 team. I know this is the start of the year. No one's fucking got their rate. But in terms of last year, they're the champs. They're a top 4 team from last year. Last year, they had 2 or 3 top 4 teams, and they were awful. We talked about the trial form rolling in. All the big dogs played decent amount of minutes in the trials and the 2 trials that they played. So this is their opportunity. Those naysayers that can build up over a couple of weeks, oh, fuck, you didn't... Imagine 2 or 3 weeks if they're coming up, because they've got Roosters next week. Well, you didn't beat fucking Panthers without Cleary. You start just having that fucking noise that's coming through straight away. And if they don't beat the Roosters, fuck, they're 0-2.
You start playing Mad Monday, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Did you disagree to that? I heard you.
I heard you too.
Not Mad Monday. You're off your head.
Before we move on to ice, just quickly, your boy Stubby Cooler gets the bench spot too. You must be pretty excited to see the boy in the 14.
Stubby Cola.
Yeah.
I messaged him. He said it's pronounced Cola, so
Stubby Cola?
It's the one that I get right.
Yeah.
He's good. Ches is trying to downplay it. I've seen in the media.
Shut up, Ches. We know he's
Ches
good.
don't. When you see that, I think he gets hammered too, because Ches is like, I've read a few of the comments and they're talking about Ches being negative, but Ches has got that Desi fucking play everything down mentality. Don't worry, Ches
Straight
likes
out
him.
of doom.
Ches likes
look, we're
him.
excited, mate.
Mate.
Your biggest pro for Manly Ice?
Bro, just their lineup. Like, I'm looking in from top to bottom, and we touched on last year.
Oh, fuck
like,
yeah.
Stacked.
Bro, they're stacked.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Shout out Bullymore.
They're stacked. And here's my cons. I don't really have one right now. Like, I'd love to roll into round 1, and it's easy to find negative things as well, but I'm looking them top to bottom. I know Schuster's out, but I'm looking at them, bro. They're just a very well-balanced side. Tommy Turbo, obviously, don't have to say all the obvious stuff, but I just like Ula Kawatu. I think he put a clinic on Jack Wyden as soon as he went off last week or 2 weeks ago. Jack Wyden come into play.
Yeah, I like that.
And it'd be nice to have him there. I know Ches is pumped to have him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Bullymore's obviously a pretty handy replacement with Shuey
Gun.
now too.
Yep.
He's
It'd be
nice.
nice.
Lawton's like a really handy bench player.
Carlos is nice, man.
Yeah.
Slept on. He can cover the hooker. He can run a tough line for you as well out in the back row. I think he's almost better at back row as well.
Haircut of doom as well.
Kepi's tough, bro, and Paseka's trying to he understands how big he is now. And sometimes the Big Islander boys takes a while to get that, but once they figure it out, bro, and he just come in and do his job and run over the top of people. And one of my coaches always say, don't be afraid to get tackled because you've always got good players coming. When you can generate quick play the balls, you've got your DCs, your Fozzies, your Jakey and Tommy there. You can capitalise. And Manly, always great support players, always the best support players in the comp. And even you look at guys that move away from Manly, like a Gutho, they don't miss opportunities. So if you can get line breaks and stuff, who's going to be there? Tommy, Ches. Always. Never miss him.
Yeah, 380 for any time is jam for Ches.
Bro, they were paying $255 last week.
Yeah.
Hurts.
Have you managed to find a concern with your Bird Gang, Scope?
No, not really a concern. A way I'd like them to win if these conditions hold up. So people don't know. Obviously on the East Coast, it's been pissing down here. I'd like to see them win ugly in an ugly game if it has to come to that. Obviously, if you score on a shitload of tries and you can put a fucking score on them like Parra did, that's lovely as well. But if Ches and Fozzie have to control the game by kicking in the corners, we talk about all the flash that Manly potentially have. But if they win a nice fucking 12-6 game, 18-6 game, where Foz and Ches heaps of repeat sets, or they're putting them right in the corner, which Penrith will try to do to Turbo. If they win like that, it'll be very impressive, I think.
They won't have the arsenal of Nathan Cleary's kicking game to sort of kick him out of it. So they could definitely kick their way to win easy.
Yeah.
He's got the old Mini Cooper boot too, Sullivan. But anyway, let's roll on. Give us a prediction. Where are you going?
Manly win for
Manly
me.
win, 12 and under?
Yeah. 12 and
Close
under, yeah. I still think it'll be close. I still think a lot of it will be clunky. I don't think the attack was beautiful in that trial, even though they were loaded up with talent and they didn't really string together 60 minutes. So they'll do enough to win, I reckon, in my opinion.
Scope, you obviously going Penrith, or?
Yeah, Manly in an ugly one, hopefully. That's my that's how I want to see him win. I don't want them too easy because we're going to go on the Chooks and then we'll fucking dust them next week. 13 plus next week. 1 to 12 this week.
No way.
I'll go Manly too, for whatever it's worth. Right, let's move on to the Raiders. So Raiders versus Sharks. If you're in the Doozy Club, me and Chico will see you Friday night at the pub for this one, Chick? Looking forward to it. Nodding your head there. Team naming, obviously the big one is no Jared Croker. So the boy Schiller.
He called that.
You did
Scope
call that.
called
You did call that, Scope. So James Schiller is in, and your rookie of the year that you're riding all year, Scope, Xavier Savage, not in for round 1. Jerome Omosia is, but we'll get to that later. Bit about James Schiller, because obviously I had to do the quick Google search like everyone else too.
Tell us a little bit about
He's the nephew of Raiders great Brett Mullins, out of the Dragons system. He only played 4 games in their cup side last year. Obviously that was canned due to COVID. So, but from everything you see, breaks tackles like nobody's business, very silky playmaker, can play 6 at a pinch. So they're obviously very high on him. He's must have, like you said, had the preseason of doom. So Raiders, Scope, we'll start with you. Biggest plus for them and sort of your reaction to Croker and Savage not making it.
Yeah, I could sort of see it coming. Obviously, like we said, I don't think I was the only one. Like there are a few other shows that were talking about it as well. But
I think you were first.
Yeah, I could have been first. But I'm glad Tomoko gets his start.
Yeah.
With regards to Xavier Savage, sweet. If Ricky's going to play it this way because he feels like he could, take a little bit of pressure off him. I understand it. Ricky's fucking...
He said he was going to do this.
He said he was going to do it, and he's lived up to his word. So, I still like the Raiders. I don't know much about Brad Schneider as well. He comes from their system. The 7 is filling in Fogarty, but I think Fogarty's... it's concerning out for me.
Is he your con as well? Fogarty out?
Yeah, Fogarty out. Yeah, for sure.
I think so too. Yeah, you sort of build your preseason around him, and it's important to build your preseason around 7. So, pros for me, I like the style of football that Raiders play, and like sort of Scope said, like your first 5 rounds, you just want to get it through and win ugly. I think this weather. These early rounds suit their style of play, and you kind of to him and through him. Jack Wyden's got a beautiful left foot kick as well. He'll get him in positions, but I think they'll score a lot of tries over maybe not against the Sharks, but over the next 5 rounds. I think it really suits them.
Yeah, Schneider's an interesting one because they obviously have the immortal of all immortal backup, Sammy Williams, in the system. He's on the extended bench.
I'm glad I've seen that. So that's one team, obviously, like I looked at a few teams, I just didn't see the Nathan Brown thing. I'm glad they're blooding a couple of youngsters in Schneider and Schiller. I think that'll be good for them. We've talked about I think when we mentioned the Raiders, one concern was a decline in age with Croker, and some of these guys are getting a little bit older. So to bring through, they've got some youth that's presenting itself in the back line, which is always a good sign. I always love good veteran forwards, which they've got, and then young, exciting, up and coming backs. That's
a good balance.
That'd be my ideal team if I was putting together a roster from top to bottom.
Shout out Xavier Savage too, with the old receipts on the 100 time.
Yeah,
love that. 10.5, bro. That's quick.
10.5 is rapid. Speaking of rapid ice, before we move off, Schiller is going to be coming up against Ronaldo Mortalo, who they've actually named in the centres. So we've all seen Mortalo play. He's a fucking weapon, but with the addition of Matt Ikavalu and Sione Katoa, they find themselves in the centres. Your thoughts on Mortalo as a centre? Makes sense?
Good. Yeah, I like it. Obviously, had a chat to Matty Moreland around it. And I think Connor Tracy was meant to roll into that spot there. I think maybe injuries kept him out. Yeah. But I think he's just really killed it in that centre position. And obviously, he's wonderfully talented as well. Very flashy as well. So I like their centres. They got Strike, Ramy and Mulatalo. Yeah. You can give them the ball and they can do something with it. And I think that's important in centres. If you're not one of those guys, you need to be a fucking lockdown defender. Yeah. You're like Matt Coopers, you're Josh Morris, those types of guys, where you go up against someone, you can fucking shut them down no matter what and who they are. But these guys, you can give them the ball, especially Raymond as well. Strong up top, strong through the base. You can get some points through them as well.
And they got 2 absolute try-scoring freaks in Katoa and Ikavalu. Those boys score tries for
fun. Nice and steady and interesting.
Like Cook Island boy, Ikavalu?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think he might be, bro.
Fijian?
You should know that if he's Cook Island.
No, that's right. I think I'd know if he was.
You're probably right.
On the coaching staff for the World Cup.
Let's talk about the Sharks a little bit, Scope. Biggest plus, concerns for them, and what they've presented on their team list. What do you like?
Yeah, so I just want to touch on the Mulatalo thing. When Moise came in the other week, he obviously told us about it as well, and he was excited about Mulatalo and what he presented. Connor Tracy's had a bit of disrupted, injured off-season. I think he might have had some sort of surgery, so they chucked Mulatalo in there, and he impressed. Moise was unsure whether he was going to start at centres, but now that he's out, obviously we can talk about it, but we keep that on the low until like these sorts of lineups come out. Yep. But apparently Moise said he was looking really nice in the centres, so him and Ikavalu struck up a pretty cool, good combination. On the Sharks, rock solid. rock solid. Hard to. This is going to be one of the games of the week. You Doozy Club members are going to be there with Chico and Jacko. You're in for a treat with this one. I think it's going to be. I've written down.
It's not worthy of the 6 o'clock time slot on a Friday.
Nah,
Yeah,
I thought they were going to put my boys there.
I think Ooh. Yeah, true. Well, Dragons and Warriors is going to be an intriguing one as well, actually. At the start of the year, everyone's sort of keen anyway. So
You watch every game.
everyone's watching every game.
It's like
for
they
sure
do for
this
Magic
week.
Round. They put all the low matchups on Magic Round because they know we're all going to watch it.
I was originally rolling with the Sharks, but obviously this is part of my picks.
Yeah.
I think because I read the physical battle was going to be intriguing for me, but with Dale FINUCANE missing Cam McInnes, who got ruled out a couple of weeks ago, and now Wado, who like those three guys, if they're in the pack together, more often than not, I'm going to be leaning towards the Sharks in most games and the physical battle. But just with FINUCANE and then a few of these other guys, like I know Toby Rudolph's in there and that, but just not as, what's the word?
Physically imposing.
Yeah, imposing. Imposing is the word I'm looking for.
It's a pretty imposing bench, though, Scope. They've gone with four big. They've gone with Tolman, Talakai, Royce Hunt, and Fafita on their bench. So you look at a team that
That's
like
my
Parra,
cons. That's my cons for Sharkies.
Yeah, well, interesting. We'll throw to you straight after this then. But Scope, teams are naming halfbacks. They're trying to find that Nico Hines. They're all carrying basically every other team's carrying a specialist 14. Respectfully, Aiden Tolman ain't that sort of specialist 14 that we've sort of come to expect now.
Yeah.
They've gone Tolman, middle, Talakai, who does his best work on the edge but started in the middle, Royce Hunt as middle as they get, and Fafita middle.
Nah, so you go to Tolman, you pair him up with a Royce Hunt as well, who's like, even though he's got a wonderful carry in him, you get someone who's a taller that can cover up his mistakes.
Yeah.
So when you put your front row rotations together on the bench, you don't want too much of the same thing. Like you wouldn't want a Tolman and Aaron Woods coming off because they're like kind of more starters, eat up all the things. So
Yeah.
I know there's cooler 14s out there that are a lot more sexy, but I see Fitzgibbon doing that as well, and it suggests he wants to play a power game as well.
Yeah, fucking
so and you're looking at the Raiders pack. The Raiders pack's nice. Papali'i, Tapani, Young, Corey Hardaway, Naida, bro. He's fucking
he's
tough
elite.
as fuck. Whitehead's tough, and you got Elliott on the bench and Hosborough. Like they're all fucking tough. So it's going to be one through the middle, and they always say that. but-
Hosborough was one we forgot yesterday when we were predicting our Raiders teams.
Yeah. I love Elliott Whitehead. It looks like in this makeup, numbers don't mean anything to me, like I said before, but just in the makeup, Corey looks to be playing right edge. Hudson, I think, may play on the left edge, and then Elliott Whitehead through the middle. I like that.
And they typically,
Elliott Whitehead is a footy player, man. Like you can play him.
Fucking oath.
He's a bit like, he reminds me of the way Glenn Stewart was.
Yeah.
You can fucking play right edge, left edge, middle. Even centre in the
5'8".
pitch, 5'8", yeah.
And you mentioned yesterday, Scope off air as well, when Starling comes on, they typically move Hodgson into that ball-playing lock role anyway, eh?
Yeah, could do.
You
Yes,
reckon, do you reckon they stick with that?
They give they normally give Hodgson a spell, and then when they bring him back on, he
Into
plays
lock.
for a lock for a little bit, and then maybe take Starling off. Hodgson goes back into hooker, and then they'll bring, if it's Smelly that gets a rest, or Corey or Hudson or whatever.
One thing that with the heavy rotation on the forward is you just don't know how the refs are going to ref the game. Like
Right.
usually they come in with some brand new for the first 5 rounds and cause controversy. And because all the games have either been rained off or super wet, we haven't really been able to see the true speed of rugby league right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the rules are and how they're going to play it this year or how it's going to be refed, but it's a big pack as well. And if the game starts moving quick, who knows?
So, all right, let's get a prediction out of you then, Scope. Where are you going for this one? You said you had the Sharks. Is that true?
Yeah, I had the Sharks, but I've flipped to the Raiders just due to Waito's big out for me.
I've gone the other way. I started with the Raiders, now I'm going with the Sharks.
Yes. I've gone the Sharks, obviously. If you remember from Scope Tears Me, I'm very high on the Sharks this year, so I think the Sharks...
Scope Tears Me, what a name. Fucking hell. That didn't get the credit it deserved.
No, it didn't. That's why I keep bringing it up.
I think it's more like lingo within the building too.
Yeah,
Go
but
team.
I also enjoy that too. I love a personal joke more than I get fucking giggles anywhere else.
All right, let's move on to the big one. Well, it was going to be the big one if Reynolds was playing. No Adam Reynolds, but Broncos versus Souths. Obviously, we mentioned off the top of the show, Walters and Kelly get the nod in the halves. Scope, we'll start with you here. Let's talk a bit of Brisbane. Your reaction to their team naming? Biggest plus, biggest concern?
I messaged Kempy yesterday and I said, that ambush you've been talking about for fucking 3 years? I think it could be here round one. The one part that I'm hoping it doesn't, one thing that I think could bring them out undone is if in the competing for that 6th position that Billy Walters and Albert Kelly don't play together.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Can you
So what
expand on
happens
that?
is when you're younger and you're playing trial games to make a fucking SG Ball or Harold Matt's team, you'll play like a probables versus possibles versus probables team, and they're the worst games they're playing because everyone's playing for themselves.
Right.
I just hope. Obviously, there's more at stake when it's the NRL, but there is a spot up for grabs for sure.
Yeah.
The 6th spot is up for grabs when Ren gets back next week, if he does come back next week, because I know he's got a little lingering injury. Hopefully they don't play against each other and try to cancel each other out.
Do you know what the best?
I actually like the rest of their team. I think they're a good young ascending team. I think that's one thing that concerns me about the 7-6.
This is the best example of that when Mitch Moses first rocked over to Parramatta. And like, so Corey used to run the team, used to flow. But then the next year when they rolled him, they were both fighting for the ball.
Yeah.
And you can see it from a mile away if you understand football.
Too many Chiefs, not enough.
Yeah,
Indians,
perfect example. So that was kind of like the high profile version of that as well. But I think Walters, he's grown up around football. I don't think he'd be that type of guy. I haven't heard him speak too much, but he didn't strike me as the type of guy that.
No, it seems like a good kid.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Ice, your reaction to the Brisbane. Obviously, I touch a little bit as well on the backline in general. So Isako's got the 1 and Cobbo on the wing.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that was the one people were hoping to see Cobbo in the 1, but it's sort of I suppose an easy way to transition him in. And Corey Oates has earned his wing spot back as well.
Yeah, good backline. Like Staggs is tough, Oates is tough, Cobbo's tough, Isako. Like when he plays well, he reminds me of Valentine Holmes. Like they're not your traditional ones. They're not going to strip you of passing, but they can like step you and go the length. I do like Cobbo rolling into the 5. Like if you're thinking him long term, you roll around that theory of like Roger Tuivasa to Minichillo. Like start on the wing, get your legs underneath you, work your way in. So I do like it. Obviously Reynolds is the big out for me because like Scope, I think they're a team on the up. You look at their pack, they're strong, they're tough. You look at their outside backs, they've got wonderful strike. But much like Nathan Cleary pulling out from the team, like how do you piece that all together? Yeah. Like how do you get your touches? How do you get your looks? Are you getting kicked into positions where you're not fatiguing yourself out and wasting all your energy on defense so you can save yourself into attack as well? So like sort of rolling into the Rabbitohs, I just think right now in this first round game, I just think there's enough there to get it done. And off the back of Cody Walker, I think he's just too good. Yeah,
before we quickly move off Brisbane, Tyrone Roberts named on the bench as well. Is that a sign that he's going to give Billy Walters and Albert Kelly a certain amount of time to prove themselves, or what do you make of having Tyrone Roberts on the bench? Because I can't imagine he's going to come on and play too much hooker.
I think he put a really good season together last year in the Q Cup, and like they were playing in finals and stuff. Yeah, I don't actually know. They remind me of like Melbourne, where they've got 1,000 hookers there at the moment. These guys got 1,000 5/8 and halves. So yeah, I don't.
Even Carmichael Hunt was playing 6 for him last year.
Yeah,
that's a
he loves fucking bringing a vet back and plugging him in to play halves up there, Kevy.
Where do you see Tyrone Roberts playing then? If he's on the bench, he's going to play.
I would have liked Ezra Mam personally.
Yeah, same. I'm same as you.
Yeah, I would have liked Ezra Mam.
I can assume then it's only a skin a spell for Turpin, or
maybe maybe could play.
Yeah. He's tough enough to play in the hooking role as well. So
experience.
But and the other side of that, where Scope talked about when you got 2 guys fighting for a position, sometimes when you got your same position sitting on the bench, when you're like, especially a half,
stressing.
You don't stress, but you try and do too much.
Yeah.
And like sometimes as a half, you got to let the game come to you and you build yourself into a game. Sometimes when you're like, you're off in 60 minutes, you start doing stupid shit.
I'm happy for Tyrone Roberts though. I love it when guys fight their way back in. Albert Kelly was similar last year, went over the Super League.
I think
shit wasn't guaranteed. Like when those guys get to fight their way back into an NRL contract in Jersey, I love that shit. So happy for him.
All right, let's talk a bit of South Scope. What do you like?
I mentioned him, Cody Walker. When you look at everyone who's involved in this game, he's Ren's missing. Latrell's missing. He's the clear-cut superstar of this game. He needs to play like that, and I think he will. I do have a concern, though, how that left edge looks, minus Dane Gagai and Trell playing on that edge, whether it's as fluid. Exciting to see if Lockie Ilias can keep improving from his game and open it up, because we've talked about it many times as well, how important Adam Reynolds is for that left edge shape that people just don't see that stuff that's done to manipulate A, B, and C that then opens it up for the edge. So, intriguing game. I want to see Cody, and I just want to see how fluid that left edge looks, because it looked a bit clunky against the Dragons in the Charity Shield game.
Latrell checking the boys at training
Love
too.
that.
I was going to bring that up because we'd be remiss if we didn't mention it. Big deal, no big deal. What does it mean?
Nothing. You see that once or every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Someone,
especially in pre-season. At the end of pre-season.
I wrote that on Roasty's comment. I was like, bro, 16 weeks of pre-season, you're overtired. Like, you're sick of the boys. You just want to tackle someone else. Yeah. So that's just all that is. And like sometimes when you do like contact sessions, people treat them like differently, and it just might have just been like, I don't know what happened, but just takes one little one and all the boys start going harder anyway.
There wasn't even...
Ivan used to always go, like, contact sorts itself out. So he goes, I'm not going to put you don't have to go as hard as you want, but it just takes one idiot to put a shot on and everyone starts coming out the line.
Yeah. There's some, and then every now and again, the Ceros will get together too, and you know who they are. There's some losers that go hard every training session. So like you see them and you go, yeah, I don't want any of that.
Stay away from the pummel.
And they all get in the same crew because they fucking love it because that's how they want to train. Me and Ice were like, that wasn't our strength, but there wasn't even that much in it too from Hosty. Like I seen he sort of come and picked up Charles' legs, but like, mate, yeah, a little bit of frustration. Led the back end of preseason, nothing in it. So
I saw the old 360 boys getting into him about lashing out with the legs and how he would have been Latrell and how he would have been suspended if it was a real game, and really gave it a good old fashioned beat up.
Oh, so typical.
Yeah. But you've seen a fair bit of that at training.
Heaps.
Time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Punch
like come
Yeah.
the blows, but they just we didn't have that back in the day where
you're just winning every game at Manly, you'd be sweet.
Yeah.
The boys don't hardly train there anyway.
Yeah, Jazzy Tavanga used to hate a stink as well when we get there for media day. Didn't let the young boys get one
mate,
up.
I'll quickly tell you, Jesse Senolafo, he's a good mate of ours, and he used to go fucking test. We call it test match. If someone's going testy, you all right. So Anthony Watmore goes, if as soon as Jesse carries the ball, everyone's body in front, but when Jesse carries it, because it can make you look bad, right? So especially if you're playing opposed. If a guy's going 100 miles an hour, and talked about Jimmy Maloney, where they're running through the line, still the coaches go, fucking, like if you're not Jimmy Maloney, they go, fucking scope, get your body in front. So, bro, we were just playing like body in front one time, and Jesse got absolutely pummeled because that's what happened, and there's like a bit of push and shove, but those are some of the things that happen in training session. But then as soon as we're done, go get a coffee and that together, and then you go, see what happens, Jesse? You fucking go too hard at training. We got like, and it was so obvious that we went harder on Jesse than we did anyone else. Like Michael Cheekham would run the ball, body in front, get down, bang, that sort of shit. So that happens all the time.
I got a great one from the Wars back in the day. So same story, and we had this big prop called Chrissy Terrape, same thing. Used to go way too hard at post session, kicking off bar runs. If I guess he comes out the line, big Rubes.
Yeah, big Rubes.
He goes, fuck this. Bro, snapped him in half and just, like, I'm just standing there. It's like one of my first trainers, like, oh, yeah. Listen to the big boys.
But he would have got Rubes a couple of times before it gets to that. Like you end up going.
You have to get put on the Gronk. Yeah.
We did the session before where Jesse was running through, and then Chock goes, if this cunt goes through again. So he was getting full on 3 in the tackle, chopping legs, like full on like a proper tackle. Everyone else was body in front.
Oh, I've got another wild story for you. A different side of this as well, like in conditioning. So like they say like no heroes. And like when I was younger, bro, I was fit as like me, Mannering used to get the best times in beep tests and stuff like that. So all the halves used to run together, and we used to always do hills in Auckland. Plenty of them floating about. Stacey Jones comes back as well, so I'm out there flying, and like we start walking down the hill. He fucking grabs my shirt, pulls me. He goes, "Don't make me look stupid here." And I've got the coach going like, I was going, "Yeah, win everyone. Don't get sick of winning. Don't get sick of winning." And I'll get to the forefront. I'm like, pretending to get tired because I just don't want to fuck off, Stace.
Good on you, Stace. All right, let's get a prediction out of you boys before we move on. Scope, Broncos, Souths, ambush. Yes.
Ambush.
Love it. Where are you going? Close one, Brisbane?
Yeah, close one for that. I don't think they're going to pump the Rabbitohs, but I think they could make this interesting. Again, wait for the betting show for this, man. I've got a little bit. There's a little bit of jam. There's a little bit of jamming around it.
Ice, where are you going?
Rabbitohs, easily.
I'm with you, Scope. I think this will be the upset of the week. I like this one. I'm going to go Brisbane too.
Now can I change?
I got that Drake curse.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Isaac John Cup. The Roosters taking on the Newcastle Knights. Obviously, the big team news for them was Luke Keary in, Tedesco in, Radley in, basically half the NRL salary cap in. And your reaction, pros, cons, talk to me about the Roosters, man.
Yeah, my first game as a Roosters supporter since I was about 8 or 9, so I'm obviously gone back to my roots there. But yeah, love it. Obviously, Keary, knock about for him a little bit as well. Seeing that stat about Radley and Keary, they haven't played together. And obviously, good mates with Robbo. We talk about the 5-person spine, and for us, it's Tedesco, Walker, Keary, Connor Watson's in that 9, and Bradley. And
that's like a nice 5-man spine.
That's a nice 5. So they build their structure around those guys, and then like a lot of guys, I've talking to a lot of these guys. Momorowski's been getting a lot of praise. I reckon his IQ in terms of footy is crazy as well. So to slip on there into the wing when there's some pretty talented dudes there as well, pretty interesting. But I do like it. Billy Smith in there as well. Do a job for you. Probably a bit of any time jam. I feel like he finds a line a little bit.
Who won this?
Yeah, he's
Billy Smith.
Billy Smith. So he's obviously held out Adam Kieran and Kevin Nguama, who's coming back from a hell of a fucking season over there. So
when I told you Momorowski wasn't a lock,
yeah,
he got a wing spot. But I said, Watch out for Mommers. Mommers is a journeyman. He's a journeyman. He's a good feeling guy that obviously got a really good IQ, well liked. I know that from the Melbourne boys as well, not only from the Roosters boys. They love him down there. So, Billy Smith's a big in because I know he's had a rough couple of years with injuries. I think he's done his ACL a couple of years. I could be wrong. I know definitely once. But this is another one. Getting onto the Roosters, I'll get straight into the Roosters. SCGs are. I know it sounds funny for some people that haven't played. It's a weird stadium to play at, the SCG. It's quite daunting. It's fucking feels like you're running sideways sometimes. The outside of the fence is so far away. Roosters really know how to play at the SCG. Obviously, they're experienced. It's their second. They're at their home
for the last couple of years,
away from home, which will eventually be their proper home ground when that's all done. That stadium there, but they just know how to play there, and I think. The Roosters will come with the right game plan for round one. You know, when you look at teams, obviously completions, it's obvious. Everyone goes complete sets early on.
Yep.
They'll do that, and they'll do it. Not only will they complete their sets, they'll get to the right spots, all these little things that matter. Moving on to the Knights just quickly, this could be rough. This could be rough for the Knights.
I reckon they look all right, bro. I reckon they look all right.
I'm a little bit worried about the Knights.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned when we talked about the Knights in the trial stuff, you would have liked to have seen Barnett start in that 13 role and then Kurtman roll on. They've elected to, or at least name. That obviously could change.
Yeah, because remember they used to name Connor at 13, they come off the bench all the time.
They used to do that all the time.
Could be something like that.
I don't know how much you read into that, but your reaction before we move off the Knights scope to Kurtman getting that 13 spot?
Look, the team still from 1 to 17 looks pretty good. It's just the halves are still a concern for me.
Yeah, Clifford and Clune obviously got the nod. We all thought that was going to happen. Yeah.
And they've played okay, but I think when it comes to meaningful footy, and we're going to see that from the Roosters, I think it's going to be a tough ask for them this weekend.
Hey, we mentioned as well last week we have the boys that we're riding with. My rookie of the year. You laughed. You laughed at him. You laughed at me.
No, we didn't laugh.
I didn't laugh at that. I didn't laugh at that.
Momoy Sia in the 17.
We did not laugh at him.
And these boys have disrespected you the whole season. I'll stay with you, all right?
We felt sorry for you that Jacko picked you. Like, you are the Drake curse. So it was nothing to do with him. It was more to do with you. But
Pre-season of Doom, the big fella's got a spot.
Good on him. Yeah, he played well in the Storm game, like you said.
He did,
and, he looks to have a future.
He's a big athletic thing.
For me, they just need to have. If Clune was part of the squad and then maybe thereabouts to fill in, because I see him more as that player, respectfully.
Yep.
And if they had like sort of a more established half to play 7,
Drinky in, that'd be a different side, wouldn't it?
What does this side look like, guys, on paper? If Mitchell Pearce is still there, how much better are they with Mitchell Pearce?
A little bit better, but I don't think they beat the Roosters.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think that style, obviously he's a little bit older as well. When he was younger, bro, he was rapid. And he'd take the line on, come off, whack, crank dudes. So, but yeah, I saw their centers, bro. Gagai and Bess, pretty decent centers. They got a strike there. Like I said, the common theme for this one for me is how do they get the ball? How do you get those guys the ball when you're not the talented halves? And Clifford's a better runner now. I think he's developed that game really well.
You know who'd be filthy the most is Gags, because Pearcey's left to right, you've seen it in Origin, is one of the best that's fucking ever played the game. I don't know if you've watched Pearcey closely, but that left to right for potentially Gags down that right edge, because Gags likes his early ball. Gags likes his early ball, so he'll be the one that'll miss Pearcey the most.
I remember Jared Mullen used to sling it to him, and he was elite.
Yeah.
Original quads of doom, Jared Mullen. Love that bastard. All right, let's get a prediction out of you boys for this one. Then I think we all are going Roosters. Scope, how ugly do you think it potentially gets?
Yeah, 13 plus.
Yeah, 13
plus. 3 o'clock in the afternoon as well. I looked at the weather. It's about 50%. You start putting money on these things. You start looking at all these factors. So that's a sunny day for us down here at the moment. So hopefully they can throw some good football. One con that we've met, the Roosters haven't played much football. All their starting boys are out. I don't know, it's been happening with the Warriors, and a few guys have been missing out of trials. Doesn't really matter. But Keary hasn't played football in 12 months, so he might be a little bit gassed. So hopefully they can get a front run and get some points on early and hook them off and throw mutters on.
Yeah. All right, I'm going Roosters 13 plus as well. I think they get it done easy. They could do it by 20, Scope. And speaking of 20, you can get 20% off Manscaped with promo code ICE or Scope. Had to manufacture that one. Manscaped.com.au. Thank you for supporting the show. They are the big supporters of YKTR Sports Show, and we are of Manscaped. Go get yourself sorted. They've got the amazing Lawnmower 4.0 out now, plus the 4th generation Ultra Premium Collection, which is a mouthful, but it's a mouthful for a reason.
Hey, don't sleep on the body wash too. So I've taken the body wash home. They've got body wash, shampoo, some sprays.
You're smelling Mickey.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm smelling like a man because I am a man.
Manscaped,
baby.
Promo code ICE or promo code SCOPE gets you 20% off. It gets you free shipping. Get yourself sorted. It's round 1 for fuck's sake. So time to sort your shit out. All right, game of the weekend. Thank fuck we finally made it here. So I'll put the timestamps in so you can skip the first half of the show. Warriors taking on the Dragons. The return of SJ, the team name that obviously rocked the world. They're in. The boys are looking good, but so are the Dragons. Scope. Your reaction to the teams that were named? Biggest pros, biggest cons? Where are we going?
Yeah, it sucks that Walshy's out. We don't get to see Walshy straight off the bat with SJ. Feel like, we just got to wait an extra week for it. But again, team's all right. Team doesn't look too bad. I'm more focused on the Dragons. I think a big concern for me for both, we're going to talk about them coming up maybe in 2 games, the Eels versus Titans. The Titans and Warriors missing that second trial where they got to unleash their new combinations and their new spines. Just work on, fine-tune some things. Like, it's not the end of the world. They would have got some context. Physically, it's not the end of the world, but just fine-tuning some of those plays would have been nice for them. And I think it's going to be a disadvantage for both teams. That's why I'm leaning towards the teams that are playing them.
Yep. I see your reaction to the teams.
Was? Obviously SJ back in as well. I think Nicarima's he's earned his 6th spot there. I think when you're in your last year of your contract, you start to move like a little bit different. You rock up to training, start putting a bit more effort in as well. I think he's in that phase because he's realised his potentially he's not going to be there next year. I don't know if you're buying into the gossip or anything. I think he's had a great preseason. I think it's going to be a great balance for Shawnee. Shawnee can run the team, so he's just got to look up and look for opportunities. And when he gets him, run. And I always say this about Nicarima, if he finds himself in different situations, not just first receiver, I think he's a much more talented footballer where he can if someone gets a line break, he can jump in at hooker, take that next carry, or his best place is off an offload. Yeah. I don't think he's like that traditional 7 like your Nathan Cleary that loves to have it as a first receiver. I think he's better in that secondary for me. But yeah, Waz looking all right for me.
You mentioned Cody because he has had he's one of the best trial performers, then obviously carried it into the Māoris as well. So
that matters, bro.
Ash Taylor came in as the sexy new pick where you thought Ash and Sean would be the halves, but he's earned that spot, man. So good on him. Yeah,
100%. I would have gone Ash Taylor at the start of I just love the kicking dynamic of Reece Walsh, Johnson, and like I said earlier, this potentially could be the best kickers that the Warriors have ever had.
And Chanel, speaking of halves, Chanel's showing a bit of his versatility. He has been quite openly shopped around, so he's not going to be at the Warriors much longer. But
really?
Yeah, so if Chanel can, he's starting at fullback. If he can prove to other clubs out there that he's that versatile, and maybe it's a 14 role someone sees him in, I'm not too sure.
Knights should be looking at either Cody or Chanel to bring in for that backup 7 role. I
think Milford's heading up those ways.
Oh,
too.
is he?
Yeah,
that'll be a big one for him. If Knights can pull that off, that'll be nice.
I think there's just a cloud hanging around. The NRL aren't registering his contract yet, so they flat batted that. But yeah, Milford be a good pickup. All right, let's talk about a Dragons in Scope. What do you like?
Yeah, just to top off their trial form, trending nicely. I had concerns of them at the start of pre-season, but the way that they've played during the trials, they've looked nice. But like we said, trial form can be deceiving. So let's see how they go in some real live action this week. And they've got a fucking nice start. Like their first 4 or 5 games.
I think both these sides actually have a pretty cushy-ish start.
Yeah, they do. I think looking at it, I've seen the Warriors, Dragons, and Sharks from memory don't have a pretty nice start as well. So if they can pull off a few dubs early on, it'll serve them well, obviously, for the end of the year. And Dragons. I like the Dragons. What do you like here, Ethan?
I like the Dragons too, bro. I'm looking at this team here, and it's a lot more like, I think, same as Scope, you roll into the season with a lot more confidence and the balance of having some young guys who actually really care about the area and actually really care about the club. I think that's really important, bro. And I like the balance. Like last year, like Tarek Sims is the big out for me.
Yeah.
That's huge, bro. He was literally the best forward in Origin last year.
Yeah.
Running off Jerome Luai.
Is this to do with contract negotiations?
I'd say so.
It's got to have something to do with it.
Yeah, but then like I look at their back row rotate, like Bird, Sewer, and DeBellin. I like that because they're different dudes, and they're all tough. then they're sort of like not massively big, but they can get you points. So was tough. The balance going to chop you in half, and he was jumping out the line as well. And he balances out the Woods and Lowry, who are like your cookie cutter, who do a job for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hurt you. Yeah, toilers. And then I think we talked about Josh Keary off air. Like he's probably at that point now where he needs to like progress.
We've got to see something. Yeah.
Yeah. He can still do a job for you, but like you look at him, bro, and he's so big and fast and like talented, and like he can string a game together in like those Indigenous games. He can probably do 2 really standout games where he can win you a game as well. It's just like trying to find that nice balance where he's consistently rocking up and doing something.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about the Warriors pack going up against these guys. I like
Warriors pack's nice.
Yeah, I like Aitken on an edge with obviously Elise Katoa injury free as a
I
fucking
like Bunty
weapon.
Afoa too, man.
Bunty coming off the back of fence. A bit of late footwork wouldn't kill him, but I love the hair.
Nah, he won it straight.
waving. And Aaron Penne, who's come over from Melbourne. I know they were really high on him, and that was a O'Sullivan senior getting him over. So before he departed, my only concern, and I'll get your take on this as well, is in the outside backs. Obviously, Adam Pompey and Jesse Arthurs don't get in. They've gone with Rocco Berry and Vailea going up against Sully and Zach Lomax. That's just purely on experience. That's the biggest mismatch here.
I got a question for you, Scope. Where do Sully and Lomax by years in as a centre pairing? Where are they in the comp?
You know I like them. You know I like Mutters Sully.
You do.
I've been high on Mutters Sully even when he wasn't playing first grade.
Yeah.
Now he's playing in this Dragons and he's paired up with Slowy. Sorry, we used too many nicknames here. So Moses Sully and Zach Lomax.
Yeah.
Those two guys, man, they're a nice centre pairing. They're like the odd couple. So another story, Manly story, you know I love them all. The best mates at Manly were Steve Maddai and Glenn Stewart. Like they're an unlikely pairing.
Yeah.
And it's just like it'll work nicely with these Dragons boys. I think, I like them. They'll be up there, boy. Got to look at the rest of the team. They're a better centres, obviously, but as a combination,
Gonna be right up there.
It's a run league now too, especially if you're a half. If you're not running, you're kind of remember a couple of years ago, if you're a fullback and you couldn't pass, you're a liability to the team. Right now, if you're
these
not
guys are silky, man.
Yeah, if you're not a running half, you're kind of a liability to your team as well. So like Hunt and WARNE,
Yeah.
both great runners.
Yeah. Well, so is Sean and Cody, man. Go
Yeah,
on.
I think Benny.
Yeah, but like
I know what you're saying.
Shawnee can fall into the general,
Yeah.
like we used to call like a traffic cop. Ivan used to say that you're a traffic cop, you're just sitting behind pointing people. Yeah. And I know Shawnee can fall into that because he's trying to organise everything. And I think that's a really beautiful part of Nathan Cleary's game where he can do both and run.
Yeah.
In this lineup, bro, Benny Hunt could fuck around and get top 5 of Dally M votes by the end of the year too.
Yeah. I like them. Yeah. Centers are my only concern. I'm still backing the boys, so my prediction out of the way early. Obviously, I think the Warriors get it done. Scope, where are you going?
Yeah, going the Dragons in this one, and I like them. They were the underdogs. They've come into it. They're both $1.90. At one point, they drifted out to about 205, and I had a little piece of that for the punters club. So. I like the Dragons.
Dragons.
Yeah, they do look
I'm
nice,
excited to watch this game, though.
Yeah, same. I'd love to buy into the Warriors hype right now.
So
but
I think it's
awesome. I think it's an awesome game, to be honest. Yeah.
So when you said Warriors and Dragons, and I hadn't looked at the team list, I'm going, easy. But now I've looked in, and Sully and Lomax are the big ones for me. Amone and Hunt, big. Sloan, big for me.
We love Rocco Berry, but those centers, that is a mismatch in the centers.
Rocky Berry, I reckon Rocky Berry will lock one of them up.
Yeah.
Like I don't reckon he's
a
going
big
to walk.
boy, man.
Yeah, I don't reckon they're going to walk over him, but.
Yeah.
You got to.
For me, with the going of the Dragons too, like you said with the lineup, it's less to do with the Warriors and more to do. Like I'm probably picking the Dragons as round one if they're playing against Knights, Tigers, Titans, Broncos,
Cowboys,
Raiders, Sharks, maybe on paper. So I think the Warriors are going to be there. It's going to be an entertaining game.
There you go. All right. Well, the Melbourne Storm are chasing another round one win. Craig Bellamy, that's what he does, just fucks around and wins round one games, never lost one. They're going up against the already under pressure Tigers because I think Sportsbet, there's no shame, they're already running you can bet on first coach to get sacked. I think Madge is the red hot favourite.
I think that was a fake one in the Daily Telegraph. I think Daily Telegraph did fake
like
odds.
a hot list,
but I know they do that sometimes. They put out odds. They do it for the NFL and shit.
Yeah, so already under a bit of pressure, but Scope, team naming, Meaney, Pappy in. The 5 captains, Tigers are in. What do you like? What don't you like? Where are you going? Melbourne.
I think this might be tricky. I think
Careful.
Tigers will make this ugly.
Right.
Yeah, I think Tigers will make this ugly. I don't know if I obviously, with the way the Tigers, the team, the way it looks on paper, no Prez, no Harry are going to be big outs for Melbourne. Still got an impressive lineup. At first, when I looked at it, I looked at the matchup and go, I can see Tigers pulling something off here, and then still with the lineup that Melbourne put out, even when fucking superstars are missing. I looked at the Melbourne lineup and I went, "Oh fuck, they're still grouse."
And all of a sudden,
especially with Cheese. If Cheese wasn't playing, I was leaning towards an ambush. Yeah, I was looking at an ambush, or at least with the points. But yeah, I think Tigers just watch Jackson Hastings make this ugly. He'll make it an ugly game. That's what I reckon.
Ice, Melbourne.
Storm of the Storm. You can't jag a lazy win against them. So, like a lot of the times, Ivan used to go, like, you have to go down, you have to beat them. Yep. Where, like, a lot of teams can beat themselves, and you'll hear them on Mad Monday, like, oh, we should have won that game, we beat ourselves, or if only do that. Melbourne don't do that. And regardless of who they put in, doesn't matter if all their origin stars are out, they're going to put some people that are going to plug in, do a job, and you're going to have to get some points against them as well. So, Storm of the Storm. Cons short on troops. Obviously, Munster's the big one, and Harry Grant as well. Yeah, it's just a weird-looking bench.
Yeah, it is. I wanted to touch on that.
Wishart, Nikorima. Yeah,
we love Tyrone Wishart out of the trials. I think outside of Cody Nikorima, he's probably had the pre-season of Doom, the trial form of Doom, or Tyrone Wishart. So
he's quick.
He's rapid, and he's obviously going to spell somewhere in that 9 role, you'd assume.
Yeah, so Smith will go to 13, obviously, and then those... Like, he'll come on, but I just don't know where the other one plays.
Well, they're clearly... So, Jaden Nikorima, if you remember Scope in the Māori Indigenous game, he spelled at centre for a bit. They threw him to fullback when Chanel needed a spell. Not that I'm saying he's going to spell for Pappy, but I think they must see Jaden Nikorima, as the Māoris did, as sort of a guy that you can just throw on if someone goes down. If they drop an Olam, a Reema Smith, a Jennings, or Nick Meaney, you know what I mean?
I think it might be the other way around. I think Wishart might be that number 14 role for him. Nikorima will cover... potentially if it's not working with Meaney.
Yep.
So Meaney can also cover those positions, because even Harry Grant said after the game that Wishart, that's not his preferred position.
No, he's a half.
Hooker, yeah. So
he's played
in the centres. I think he's played in the back row and centres. He's a bit of a do-it-all sort of player, so he could be their Mr. Fix-It for him. And then, did the Cody's cover for Nick Meaney if that 5'8" thing isn't working out for him.
Jaden, yeah.
I'm telling you, it's got an ugly feel about it. This game has an ugly feel about it for me. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, give me some good news about the Tigers then. What do you like when you have a look at their roster? Obviously, Oliver Gildart getting the start's cool, but what do you like when you look across the team?
We'd be fucking used to these conditions, Ollie. I played him in my first ever game playing against Wigan, and it was fucking awful. So if it's pissing down like this will suit him to a T. He's a good player, man. I told you guys about him earlier on the Tigers preview as well. I like Ollie. Dane Laurie's back. Tigers are all right. If all the fucking outside noise and fucking carry on with... everything that comes with the Tigers doesn't get in the way, but yeah, obviously like the form of what Jackson Hastings showed against the Roosters, and I think he's that sort of competitive guy that might bring out the best in a little bit of competition with Luke Brooks, and obviously I like a couple of big raps on Stefano. I've been talking about him for a minute. Luciano's been unreal in the first couple of trials.
I think Peachy brings a point of difference to them as well in terms of the attack.
Yeah, he looks like he runs it when he comes off the bench in the role that he plays through the 14. Thing with Peach, he threw a few wayward ones as well. But you live and die by that. If they start to stick, the conditions will be important. Musgrove comes off the bench. Your boy Lukey Garner. Man, Tigers are going to make this ugly. I just can fucking feel it.
Outside of Lukey Garner and Stefano, I'm not blown away by that.
Remember when I said when Tigers are fucking favourites, don't go anywhere near those cunts when Tigers are favourites. But when they're $4 underdogs, watch out. Watch out with the Tigers.
Obviously, let's talk a little bit of Tigers with you, but Adam Dewey is clearly the big name missing from here. He's their leader. He's their best player outside of probably Dane Laurie. But what do you make of the Tigers?
Yeah, I'm with Scope. I think Hastings Hastings runs the team and let Brooks just be light and free. Like, he's had so much pressure on him over the past years where they thought he was going to be the guy. Obviously, he's not the main guy, but he can be an awesome number 2. You can be a great 5'8" without touching the ball all the time. And there's plenty of them in around the league. But I do like them. They've got some strike in them. I like the same as Scope. I like their pack. But as I said, the Storm really beat themselves. Tigers on the other side of the fence where they can sort of throw one away as well. So, if you're looking for some mini time, like some what are we calling this, Scope? Peanut butter?
Yeah, a bit of peanut butter.
Yeah, underdog.
Yeah.
Leave it with me. Sports show, the betting show tomorrow.
Have you got cash to throw around? Wouldn't be a bad bet.
We're having a little look as well.
Too.
We're having a look yesterday at the futures, like top try scorer. Xavier Coates could be a red hot chance as well.
$10. Yeah, he's the favourite, and I like him as
just your money back.
I'm going the Peter Hiku effect. I think Cole fouled at $65.
I just don't think Cowboys. I love the bet. I think Kyle Felt could score 15, but he could score 15 of 25 tries for the Cowboys.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? I think they're...
Give us a prediction then, Scope. You keep saying it's going to be ugly, but you're still going Melbourne?
Melbourne in a tight one. Melbourne in a close one. So
Agree. Under 1 to 12.
I think they blow them out. Easily cover the 10.5. All right, let's move on. Parramatta versus the Titans. Probably the game, well, one of the games of the round. I mean, there's plenty of games of the round, but in terms of where they finished on the ladder last year, where a lot of people are expecting them to be. We spoke a little bit about Ryan Matterson and Nathan Brown stuff. Outside of that, there's not a huge shock across their team list naming. Jakey Arthur in the 17. Scope, let's start with the Eels. What do you like?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Everything?
I'm pretty high on. Yeah, pretty high on him. There's not much I don't like. Obviously, the Nathan Brown thing threw me out a little bit at the start, but the way that they finished last year, the way that they've performed in trials, pretty much running it back with the core group of their players, except for fucking Nathan Brown. Yeah, I think they'll be ready for this one. I think they've sort of gone from, I thought they were slept on at one point and then just typical Parramatta, but now everyone seems to be talking about him. It's making me pull up the fucking handbrake a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I don't want them hearing too much of that stuff for me, because I know like there is noise. You said we talk about there is noise come to the Tigers. There's noise that come with Parramatta, and whenever you pump Parramatta up too much, they're another team that should just I want them to go under the radar if they're going to do anything. And it'll be a good game for them though. This is a good test. Titans are a formidable team.
They're exciting.
They're an exciting team. I can't wait to watch another game. I can't wait to watch. I'm excited. Obviously, footy's back, so all the games I'm going to be excited to watch.
Anytime Jaden Campbell plays now, I think everyone's going to be excited. We've seen enough.
Brimo. I love Brimo too. I think out of all three guys, Brimo's probably like he's the veteran, 23, 24 years old.
It's crazy.
But fuck, Brimo can light up a game, man. Like I think back to that game where he really put himself on the map a couple of years ago with a big showing against Bird Gang, where he'd been experienced, but he'd played a few games, but I really noticed him in that game at Brookie a couple of years ago. Yeah.
All right, before we get to the Titans Ice, your reaction to Parramatta, what do you like?
Yeah, much like when you look at Manly's side from top to bottom, and then you start looking at the reserves as well, where you obviously got Nathan Brown and Bryce Cartwright like sort of floating about in that cup side. I like them. They just, from top to bottom, they look good. I'm always big on body variations and shapes and sizes. They've got all that. Marnie's this is last year there, so he wants to have a probably red hot crack, because I know he really enjoys being at that club and playing for Brad Arthur. But I think they're going to be good, bro. And much like Scope, I don't think they deal with expectation too well. Yeah. But who knows, man? I think this is their little window to win. And the big part for me is Dylan Brown. I think he's in that phase now. When you're a young half and you come in, you just want to play well, so you get picked the next week. Obviously, he's way past that phase now, but he's probably at a point now where he can influence results. And is that getting a few more touches of Mitch Moses? I don't know, but he's at that point now where he can have an influence on results, and if you're influencing results, you can influence seasons.
I got two questions for you with regards to the Parramatta bench before we move off him. Your boy Makatoa, obviously another one of those guys whose trial form and preseason form has obviously earned him a spot. Yeah. And then secondly to that, I want to know, if you put your coach's hat on, where does Jakey Arthur fit into this rotation?
I don't know. Like that, Makatoa deserves a spot. He's killed it for a long, long time. He just kind of couldn't quite squeeze in. Now he's there. It's kind of like it's obvious. But I thought the Arthur one, I probably would have thrown probably a Bryce Cartwright in there as well. Because if he's going to come in and cover 7 or 6, I think Guffo can cover that. Bryce can cover that as well. I think Bryce can cover from centre, prop, all the way out to your like 13, 11, 12, all that sort of position as well. So that's just my opinion. But... Yeah, but his trial form was good though. He scored a try. So it's the same conversation as Billy Waters. We hang a cloud over his head just because he's the coach's son, and like obviously when we're growing up, and that's kind of like he only got in because he's the coach's son.
But he got the Moraba.
Yeah, but he's deserved his spot. So I can't knock that, and obviously we can have opinions on who we think would be a better side. But
well, the guys that he's beat out: Nathan Brown, Bryce Cartwright, Mitch Rain, Tom Opacek, Hayes Perrin, Widdamoo, Greg, and Kai Rodwell. So he's beat out some pretty handy, first graders in there and up and coming first graders in there. So they clearly see something. All the best. Like, we're not criticising it. I just want to get your take on that.
I think the Nathan Brown and probably Bryce Cartwright them too. Ones. But then you get Stone in there, who's kind of similar to Nathan Brown. Do you want Stone and Brown on the bench? But I think that could work. But who knows? If Mitch Moses could roll an ankle second minute.
I reckon it'll be a wait and see. It'll be a wait and see with Jacob Arthur. BA's he's not that sort of guy anyway. And then plus, I remember when Brad Arthur was talking about like bringing Jacob Arthur in for his debut, and it was a little bit and ahhing about it because he just didn't know how it was going to be perceived. But apparently the senior boys, Gutho and Moses, were going, he's got to play. So they're whatever they're saying, they're the senior boys, they're the fucking captains of the team. They think he's ready. Then obviously Brad thinks he's ready, and he's I thought he had some good trial form, and looks to have filled out a little bit. Penasini's nice, bro. I love Penasini. Onto the Titans.
On to the Titans, Scope. Take it away. Because they're the exciting team, man.
Both for more. So this is a part of, I think, the decision too. With Kevy Proctor not captain the team this year.
Yeah.
Tino's going to start and play every week.
Jared Wallace is out.
Jared Wallace is out. That was a surprising one for me. I think Isaac Leu will play the 13 role. Tino will play the traditional front row. There's a little bit of difference in that in terms of who takes the first or second carry, who lines up off the kickoff, little things like that. But I like that Beau for more. I think he's a real player of the future. Man. Him and Fafita. Whether they do the Fafita off the bench again and Kevy starts to take the juice out of it, we shall see. But yeah, just another game. Good team. Will Smith 14, fucking gun 14. Love Will Smith.
Come up against his former team as well, straight off the bat. Little Connor Watson.
He'll be in for a big one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sexy Sexton as well gets the nod. Your rookie of the year to watch. Stay doozy. So what do you like about the Titans, man?
Yeah, young and exciting. And obviously there's pros and cons to that as well. But they're going up a pretty good side in the Eels. And I think they'll be excited for this as well, to go up against probably, I want to say competition favourites, but one of the top
right
four.
Up there, yeah.
They're right up there. But probably the one thing I would be focusing on is I think Brimson's going to take time to develop to that 6. Obviously, you go from fullback to 6, you have to start organising shape around you. You have to start worrying about kicks. I think when you're fullback, you're sort of light and free. You can pop up whenever you want. Obviously, you have to cover more ground on the legs, but he's going to have to be making a lot more tackles as well. And the only reason I'm being critical of this is because if the Titans have to do anything in the next couple of years, it has to be Brimson. He has to be the guy. So obviously wonderful pieces around him. I like him on the right edge with Fafita because he's a great runner of the ball. So if he's dipping into the line, he's got Fafita there. He's going to get one-on-ones. And if he gets one-on-ones, he's strong through the base. He's got a palm, plus he's rapid. I think you might see some really good tries from him. If he can nail like a really good 4-on-4, so they get to a point very much like how Fozzie plays. If he can get to that style of play with Fafita, I think you're going to score some tries between them.
Halfback question for you. Toby Sexton, you would assume, is going to do the bulk of the kicking. Not that we've seen Brimson kick the footy a lot, but I'm not too sure if he's got much of a kicking game in him. Does that help or hinder Sexton's development?
Yeah, now you say that, like Clark's not like
he's not clicker,
kick, no. Sexton, it's okay.
Will Smith can, but
but not
the kicking game.
Yeah,
Toby
could be the worry.
Toby will do the majority of it.
Yeah, he'll do the majority of it, but like as a unit. Yeah. Unless you're like a Nathan Cleary or Adam Reynolds, where you can do 90% of the kicking and you get yourself in positions to do so.
Jaden Campbell forced a few repeat sets last year. He does have a boot in him, but you wouldn't be.
Yeah,
he can
get your repeats. He's not your Nathan Cleary type of kicker where he can bomb it. He's more Ren, like short kicking game close to the line. He was not going to smack it as far. Ren's got probably developed more of a spiral bomb as his career's gone.
Nate's got it all.
It'll speed more of that. And then if you need a bit of X factor, fucking Jaden Campbell will bomb one up, I reckon.
Do you have any concerns for the Gold Coast, Scott?
Yeah, there are a few concerns. Obviously, like Titans team, they're unproven. They're unproven in the spine. So this is a good matchup to see where they're at.
You don't fear them, like
not at the moment. No, they haven't proved it. So you need to see something from it first before we get a good indication of where. Because I'm careful on the Titans because I was too high on them last year without doing anything. So.
They're another side that have some big, Herman SAS, Isan Masters, and Jared Wallace, some big names, I suppose, that have
good position to be in for the season.
Yeah, their depth
it sucks
is
for those
good.
guys that are in those positions right now. But those teams to have Parramatta and Titans to have those players missing out on round 1 action, big plus for those squads moving forward.
Let's get us a prediction then. I'll start off just to be different. I'm gonna go the Gold Coast in this one. Although I am high on Parramatta this year, I think the Gold Coast could jag it. Let's go.
Eels are my best bet of the week.
Yeah. I reckon Titans will start fast, but I reckon Eels will pull them back. And I watched the Eels play against the Broncos last year, round 1, and it was kind of like a similar game. So they could miss the jump, but they're classy enough to sort of bring it back.
Love it. All right, and final game of the weekend. Is that it? We're up to the final game already?
Yep.
Final
Cowboys
game of the weekend. Simmy's Dogs taking on the Cowboys. Bulldogs are probably the team that have come in with the most eyeballs
so
on
Simmy's
them.
at this game?
No, it's up there. It's up in North Queensland. So
Cowboys, yeah, sorry.
Simmy's first week as the on-ground announcer will be
Imagine if they took him up there and he did the announcing up there and then he'd go to Mad Cow and shit. Is Mad Cow still a thing up there, Chico? Is Mad Cow still the go? Yeah, Townsend, yeah.
It's fading, check. Content fatigue. Scope, let's start with the Bulldogs then. What do you like when you had a look across their team?
The Bulldogs.
Bulldogs, start with the doggies.
On paper, impressive. Some big names, some stars, but based off the trial form, a bit concerning. We'll see what happens. Look, there's no world beaters for the Cowboys, but I think they're going to have more of a crack and be more disciplined than what the Bulldogs are. So when I look at this game, I didn't really... It's probably the game that interests me the least again.
Is there a reason why it's the last game of the round?
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at it and going, this might
Only
be
because
alright,
of the Bulldogs.
bro.
Only because of the Bulldogs, I'm probably intrigued. But yeah, I'm liking the Cowboys in this one. I think we've talked a lot about the Bulldogs. It feels like I feel like I'm over talking about them because I want to wait and see if they produce first before I.
They're top heavy. They're very light on their bench, and they've in terms of depth, they are very light. I was surprised to see Aaron Schopp not find his way on the bench. I don't know whether the 14-year-old would suit him. And
he's got to be centre.
He's got to be centre.
He's got to be centre. Like, it's a bit of a
he's
panic.
kind of the
He didn't have the
unlucky
best game against the Sharks. He got a little bit fucking overzealous and carried away. Gave away a couple of penalties. Had a
nice tipping tackle. As well.
And then but he's going to be the future. Like, don't overreact and fucking punt him for a trial. Like, work with him. I don't know. It's a bit of a panic move for me because those third degree Burns and fucking Brent Naden, they're good centres, but they're going to be like more solid. They've been to a couple of clubs now already. Probably I would have thought Braden Birds would have been great cover for either of them as the year went on. Where Braden Birds could fill fucking 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, for me. But good to see him. He had a bit of an injury ravaged couple of years with the Rabbitohs as well, so I'm happy for him. It's not like I don't want to see anyone start, but I think Shop's got a really big future.
What do you like about the doggies, Ice?
Yeah, just on paper, obviously some exciting parts, but yeah, much like Scope, when you watch your attack, and we talked about the attack last time, they're still trying to play that 3-half system.
I know that now.
Yeah,
got the shape listed.
I don't think they suit it. Obviously, with Averillo there, still think he's a wonderfully talented player, but just not right at 7 or what the Bulldogs need right now. So I wonder if Braz will try and stick with it, and it could be costly for him personally as well. And I know he's got Gus in his corner at the moment, but Gus is pretty ruthless. He'll make decisions when he needs to. Yeah. But yeah, I like him on paper, but just my cons with him, I just don't know where. They've got wonderfully talented attacking players, but I don't think their shape suits him at the moment.
My biggest concern with the Bulldogs, for whatever it's worth, I don't like the edge combo of Tavita and Jack Hetherington. I think
Tavita's nice.
I think Hetherington's an out-and-out prop. I think those two...
Yeah, Hetherington will play middle, I reckon. And Josh, same thing with the...
Nah, I don't reckon.
You reckon?
No, right. I think based off trials, they were playing them both on an edge.
Was Hetherington playing? I didn't even know that. I thought I'd seen him more in the middle.
The one thing, I love Hetherington ever since he came over on loan to my boys and ruffled up a few feathers. I love that he toes that line, but the fact that he has just never been able to rein it in a team that can't afford mistakes.
And now Tavita.
All I see there respectfully is I see a lot of aggression, which is a great thing. I see a power running game, which is a great thing. And I see a fuckload of errors. And when you're a team that's struggling and a team that's, can't really afford to be giving away those sort of penalties.
Especially up at Townsville round 1.
I think that's a real concern. I think that's a real concern for them. But that's just me. Let's move on to the Cowboys. Your son, Petahiku, in. They look all right. Tommy Dearden and Townsend, we mentioned off the jump.
They look all right, top to bottom.
The Cowboys.
It's just not going to blow you away. But I think they'll be one of those teams that plays, when you look at this lineup, you go, look, fucking Hammer could be a star. Hammer could be a star, but there's not that much star power outside of, Jace he's hasn't been Jace for the last couple of years.
Still elite.
He's still elite. Don't get me wrong.
To run on that contract.
But a lot of teams will go up to North Queensland going, fuck, we should, we can put these guys away early. And I don't think they will. I think they'll be a fucking pain in the ass all year, the Cowboys, and especially if they can keep this sort of lineup off the back of, Chatty Townsend will put a few kicks in there. Tommy Dearden will get about it, get amongst it. Yeah.
I love me some Reece Robson too for any time.
He can burrow under. I like Reece Robson.
He can burrow under, man.
Yeah.
Cowboys, what do you like?
Yeah, I like Cowboys. I like the outside backs, to be honest. I like Holmes at centre. I think Hiku there as well. We've always been hot on him for a minute and Tobias Fido. So I think with those halves, they're kind of steady, but they'll get you the ball. Where a lot of the conversations we've had today is how do you get your backs the ball? I think these guys are smart enough to get the outside backs the ball. And there's enough there to do something.
Yeah, there's enough there
in this game
to make it tricky.
Yeah, 100%. And
to frustrate a team like the Dogs.
Yeah.
Predictions. I'm going Cowboys.
Yeah, so I think you actually hit the nail on the head there, Scott. I think they're going to be a tough out in Townsville.
Most games. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think they're a real tough out. I'm going to go the Cowboys too. I don't know whether reading too much into the Bulldogs trial form. If I hadn't watched a trial and I was just looking at the teams, I'd probably go the Dogs.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
I
Same
thought the Cowboys played brilliant against Brisbane. I thought the Bulldogs played rubbish in the trial, so I'm going to go the Cowboys.
Sweet. All good? Yeah, Cowboys.
Oh,
Cowboys for me.
Cowboys, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Anti-Dogs Club.
We all agree on something. There you go. That is the YKTR Sports Show. We are fucking pumped for footy to be back. If you are in the Doozy Club, we'll see you Friday. Check on Obi down at the pub doing our best work. Call collection dropping next Thursday. See you guys there.
Later.